The U.S. Senate has voted to cut $9 billion in funding for foreign aid and public broadcasting. It marks a victory for President Donald Trump after he and his team spent weeks trying to convince Republicans to back this plan. A version of the text passed in June by the House of Representatives was dropped ahead of the Senate vote. It sought to do away with $400 million in funding allocated to health programs, including for PEPFAR, as the Global AIDS Relief Fund. Started by President George W. Bush in 2003, the program has saved an estimated 26 million lives. Defunding PEPFAR was seen as a deal breaker amongst a number of moderate Republicans, with its removal from the text helping to move this bill forward.
The yeas are 51, the nays are 48, and on this vote, the bill is amended as passed.
Our lawmakers voting 51 to 48 in favor of the legislation to claw back spending known as a rescissions package. No such measure has been passed in decades. The package of spending cuts is also seen as a test of how quickly members can move into law savings sought by Elon Musk's former Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. The tech billionaire had the job of finding ways to cut costs before a public falling out with President Trump and his departure from government late May. And if more, Toni Waterman joins us live from Washington, D.C. Toni, Mr. Trump would have his reasons to cut this $9 billion. What would those reasons be?
Well, President Trump campaigned on eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government. He believes that there are billions and billions of dollars that can be cut from federal spending. In this entire cutting process was the mission of DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, and it identified a lot of these programs. The vast majority of this $9 billion that is now being clawed back was for foreign aid assistance. So things like global health programs, child and maternal health, infectious disease, disaster response, development aid, programs that are quite essential, not just here in the United States, but really globally. And as you mentioned, the only thing that was really spared was this PEPFAR program, which provides HIV and AIDS relief and has saved tens of millions of lives. The remaining cuts, more than $1 billion, came from public broadcasting, which distributes money to NPR, PBS, and their member stations. This has long been a target of President Trump. He believes that these stations are anti-right, that they're liberal machines, that they're very biased against him and his administration. The concern for a lot of lawmakers, though, is that these stations, a lot of them in very rural parts of the United States, very conservative parts of the United States, these stations are often the only way to get emergency information out to the public. And now many of these stations say they are going to have to close down because of these funding cuts.
The funding cuts, before they are signed into law by the president himself, the deadline for that is midnight on Friday. It still needs to go back to a vote in the House of Representatives before getting that all-important signature. What's the process for this?
Well, the House approved this bill back in June, but because there were changes that were made to it in the Senate, it has to go back to the House now. And we are expecting that final vote could happen as soon as today, but certainly it does need to be done by that Friday midnight deadline. There is every expectation that this is going to just fly through the House, that there is going to be nothing to hold it up. But both of these votes in the Senate, in the House, have mostly been along party lines. There have been some Republicans that have voted with their Democratic colleagues, but there has been a lot of pressure on Republicans to get this bill done from the White House, from the president himself, even though a lot of them feel very uncomfortable clawing back this money that they already appropriated in a bipartisan way just a couple of months ago, and doing it solely because the president wants them to. So under the U.S. Constitution, it is Congress that has the power of the purse. It decides how money is spent in the United States. And many see this rescissions package as giving that power over to the president. It is extremely rare that these types of packages pass. The last time a president tried was actually in 2000. That was President Bill Clinton. But Congress Congress said no thank you to that, and it didn't happen. It has literally been decades since something like this has happened. But again, the concern, certainly among Democrats, but even among some Republicans, is that this power that they have is now being handed over to the executive branch.
Oh, thanks, Toni Waterman there live from Washington, D.C.